The message arrived when the house was asleep. Daniel had not planned to check the phone. He only reached for it because the screen lit up on the bedside table, a soft glow cutting through the dark like a quiet warning. He glanced at it without thinking, expecting work noise or a late alert. Instead, he saw a name that did not belong there. Aaron, his best friend. The message preview was short, casual, and far too familiar. Daniel's breath stopped before his mind caught up. He unlocked the phone with shaking fingers. The words were not dramatic. There was no apology, no fear. Comfort, intimacy. A routine that spoke of time, secrecy, and choice. In that instant, something inside Daniel cracked. Not loudly, but deeply, like ice breaking under still water. The room felt smaller. The air felt heavy. He sat frozen, reading the message again and again, hoping it would change if he looked. Long enough? Sarah slept in the next room. Steady breathing drifted down the hallway, unaware that everything had shifted. Daniel stood slowly, as if sudden movement might shatter him completely. He walked to the window and stared out at the empty street. Streetlights flickered. A stray cat crossed the road. The world moved on, careless and calm, while his life quietly collapsed. For months, Daniel had sensed distance. Sarah smiled, but it never reached her eyes. Conversations felt rushed. Touch felt rare. He had blamed work, stress, time. He had trusted both of them without question. Aaron had been part of their lives for years. Dinners, jokes, shared memories. He had been there during Daniel's struggles, offering support, advice, loyalty, or so Daniel thought. Now every memory rewrote itself. Every laugh felt false. Every moment felt stolen. The betrayal was not just from his wife, but from the man he trusted like family. That double wound cut deeper than either could alone. Daniel sat at the kitchen table until the sun rose. He did not cry. Shock held his emotions hostage. His mind raced, but his body felt numb. He replayed the message, breaking it apart word by word, looking for doubt. There was none. The truth was clear, sharp, and unforgiving. When morning came, Sarah walked in as if nothing had happened. She poured coffee, asked if he slept well, spoke about the day ahead. Daniel watched her closely. Every gesture felt strange. Now, like watching a stranger wearing a familiar face. He wondered how long she had lived two lives. He wondered if she felt guilt or if silence had become easy. He answered her with short words, careful not to reveal the storm inside him. He was not ready, not yet. He needed time to think, to understand, to decide what came next. Anger began to rise, slow and controlled, replacing shock with purpose. After Sarah left for work, Daniel stayed behind. He sat alone in the quiet house, listening to the ticking clock. Each second felt loud. His thoughts sharpened. Betrayal demanded balance. Pain demanded response. He did not want chaos. He wanted clarity. He wanted them to feel what he felt. Aaron called that afternoon. Daniel stared at the phone until it stopped ringing. The sound left behind a bitter satisfaction. For the first time since reading the message, Daniel felt control. Small, fragile, but real. He imagined Aaron's confusion, his casual confidence slowly cracking. That image stayed with him. As the day passed, Daniel began to see betrayal everywhere. The couch where Aaron had once sat laughing. The kitchen where Sarah had once defended her loyalty. Every space felt contaminated. Yet beneath the anger, a deeper pain lived. Loss. The loss of trust, of certainty, of the future he believed in. That night, Daniel opened his laptop and searched. Through messages, dates, moments. He was careful, precise. Each discovery hurt, but it also fueled his resolve. He was no longer guessing. He was learning the truth piece by piece. And with truth came power. Aaron, in his own world, believed silence protected everyone. He told himself the affair was a mistake that would fade. He convinced himself that Daniel did not need to know that honesty would only destroy lives. He felt justified by his own loneliness, by moments of weakness, by emotions he claimed he could not control. In his mind, he was not cruel, just human. Daniel did not know these thoughts yet, but he sensed the pattern. People always found reasons for their choices. That knowledge did not soften the blow. It hardened it. Late that night, Daniel stood in the mirror and barely recognized himself. His eyes looked tired, older. Something innocent had left him. In its place stood someone quieter, sharper, more dangerous. He realized then that betrayal does not always explode. Sometimes it settles, waiting, growing heavier with each breath. He did not want revenge for drama. He wanted it for balance. He wanted them to face the truth they had hidden so easily. The idea took root in his mind, steady and patient. He would not rush. He would not lose control. He would wait, plan, and decide when the moment was right. Outside, the city slept. Inside, Daniel made a silent promise. The betrayal would not remain buried. Whether through confrontation or consequence, it would come into the light. And when it did, nothing would ever be the same again. The days after the discovery moved fast, yet felt heavy. Daniel returned to work, spoke to people, answered emails, and smiled when required. From the outside, nothing looked different. Inside, his thoughts ran nonstop. Every quiet moment became loud with memory. Every pause gave space for anger to grow. At night, sleep avoided him. He lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying moments with Sarah and Aaron. He saw their faces, heard their voices, imagined the lies told with ease. The betrayal no longer shocked him. It burned. The pain sharpened into focus, and with it came purpose. Daniel began to observe instead of react. He listened more, he spoke less. He watched how Sarah moved through the house, how she guarded her phone, how her tone shifted when Aaron's name appeared in conversation. Each detail confirmed what he already knew. The truth followed them like a shadow. He answered Aaron's calls at last, keeping his voice calm. Aaron spoke casually, unaware that the ground beneath him was unstable. He talked about work made. Jokes asked about Sarah. Daniel responded with short, neutral words. He let silence do the work. Aaron filled it with nervous laughter, sensing something was wrong but unable to name it. Daniel felt a strange strength in restraint. Anger begged for release, but control felt better. Revenge, he realized, was not about shouting or striking. It was about timing. It was about making sure the truth landed when escape was no longer possible. Still, doubt crept in. During quiet mornings, Daniel questioned himself. Was this path worth it? Would exposure bring relief or deepen the damage? He imagined the aftermath, the broken relationships, the permanent scars. Part of him wanted to walk away without explanation, to disappear and start over. Another part refused to let silence protect those who had chosen secrecy. Sarah noticed the change. She asked if something was wrong. Daniel met her eyes and said nothing was. The lie tasted bitter, but he swallowed it. He watched guilt flicker across her face, quick and fragile. That moment told him more than words ever could. As days passed, Daniel collected proof with care. Messages, dates, small patterns that formed a clear story. Each piece felt heavy, but necessary. He was not building a weapon. He was building certainty. No denial would survive what he held. Aaron, meanwhile, lived in comfort built on assumption. He believed Daniel trusted him completely. He believed the silence meant safety. He justified everything in his mind, telling himself that feelings had grown naturally, that no one had intended harm. He avoided thinking about consequences, choosing comfort over responsibility. Daniel felt anger most when he thought about that ease, the ease with which they laughed, the ease with which they lied. He felt replaced, dismissed, and underestimated. Those feelings pushed him forward when hesitation slowed him down. One evening, Daniel sat alone in his car, hands gripping the steering wheel. He imagined confronting them both, imagined their shock, their fear. The image brought satisfaction, but also fear. Once spoken, the truth could not be taken back. The moment would change everything forever. He began to ask himself what he truly wanted. Not what anger demanded, but what his future needed. Revenge promised justice, but justice came in many forms. He feared becoming trapped by bitterness, living only to prove a point. He feared losing himself in the process. Still, doing nothing felt like surrender. Letting them move forward untouched felt like accepting the betrayal as normal. That thought was unbearable. Daniel needed resolution, not silence. The tension followed him everywhere. At work, small frustrations felt huge. At home, the walls felt closer. Even public spaces felt unsafe, as if everyone could see the storm he carried. He learned how betrayal isolates, how it separates a person from the world while they are still standing in it. Late one night, Daniel sat at the table and wrote down his thoughts. Not plans, not threats, just truths. He wrote about trust, about loyalty, about the cost of silence. The act grounded him. It reminded him that revenge was a choice, not a duty. Sarah stood in the doorway watching him. She asked what he was writing. Daniel closed the notebook and said it was nothing. She nodded, but her eyes stayed on him longer than usual. Fear lived there now, fear of discovery, fear of consequence. That fear gave Daniel clarity. The power had shifted. He no longer felt lost. He felt steady. The pain was still there, but it no longer controlled him. He controlled what came next. Aaron texted later that night asking to meet. Daniel read the message slowly. He did not reply, not yet. He wanted the moment to be right. He wanted the truth to arrive when it could no longer be avoided. So he turned off the lights and stood in the dark. Daniel understood that revenge was not about harm. It was about facing reality. Whether he chose confrontation or release, he would no longer protect the lie. The path ahead was unclear, but one thing was certain. The quiet days of ignorance were over. The storm had already begun, and soon it would reach everyone involved. The evening came without warning. Daniel did not plan it days ahead. He did not rehearse speeches or imagine every word. He only knew that he was done waiting. The truth had grown too heavy to carry alone, and silence now felt like a lie he no longer owned. Sarah returned home as the sky darkened. She placed her bag down and spoke about her day, her voice careful, her movements slow. Daniel listened without interrupting. He studied her face, the familiar lines, the eyes that once felt like home. He wondered how long she had practiced pretending. When she finally stopped talking, the space between them felt sharp. Daniel asked her to sit. His voice was calm, almost gentle. That calm scared her more than anger ever could. She obeyed, folding, her hands in her lap, already sensing the end of something. He did not raise his voice. He did not accuse. He told her he knew. He did not explain how or when. He did not need to. The truth landed hard and fast. Her face drained of color. The room felt smaller, tighter, like it was closing in on them. Sarah tried to speak. Words came out broken, tangled in fear and regret. She said it was a mistake. She said it meant nothing. She said she never planned to hurt him. Daniel listened, but each word fell flat. None of it changed what had been done. There was a knock at the door. Daniel had expected it. He had asked Aaron to come, using a simple message that revealed nothing. When Aaron stepped inside, confident at first, the air shifted. He saw Sarah's face. He saw Daniel's stillness. Understanding hit him all at once. Daniel turned to Aaron and said, "Only one thing." He told him the truth was no longer hidden. Aaron tried to explain himself, speaking fast, reaching for excuses. He spoke about loneliness, confusion, emotions that grew without control. He painted himself as human, flawed, not cruel. Daniel felt the final pull of revenge then. The desire to expose, to destroy, to make them feel small and ashamed. He held proof in his pocket, enough to shatter every excuse. All he had to do was take it out and let it speak. Time slowed. His heart raced, but his mind was clear. He saw where this path led. He saw anger turning into habit, pain turning into identity. He realized revenge would not end the betrayal. It would only extend it. Daniel stood up. He told them both that the story between them was over. He said he would not fight for people who chose to betray him. He did not threaten. He did not insult. He simply removed himself from the center of their lives. The silence that followed was loud. Sarah cried. Aaron looked lost. Daniel felt tired, but lighter than he had in weeks. He walked out of the room and packed a small bag. Each item he placed inside felt like a step forward. He left the house without looking back. The night air felt cold and clean. For the first time since the message, he breathed freely. The days that followed were not easy. Pain did not vanish. Anger still visited him, often without warning. But it no longer controlled his choices. He stayed with a friend, then found a small place of his own. Quiet filled the rooms, but it was honest. Quiet, not the silence of secrets. Sarah tried to reach out. So did Aaron. Daniel did not respond. Not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. He needed space to rebuild himself, not reopen wounds that would never fully heal. Slowly, life began to settle. Mornings felt lighter, sleep came easier. Daniel started running again, reading again, remembering who he was before betrayal reshaped him. He realized how close he had come to letting revenge define his future. One evening, as he watched the city lights from his window, Daniel reflected on the choice he had made. Walking away had not given him victory in the way revenge promised. There was no dramatic ending, no public justice, but there was peace. He understood then that revenge offers noise, not healing. It demands energy that grief already steals. By choosing not to strike back, he had chosen himself. The betrayal would always be part of his story, but it was no longer the ending. It became a chapter that taught him the cost of trust and the strength of restraint. Daniel turned off the lights and lay down, calm settling over him like a quiet truth. Revenge had knocked on his door, but he had not let it in. And in that choice he found something stronger than satisfaction, found freedom.